Chapter 13, Fit, Fat, or Fine. We all need essential fat. Men need 4%, women need 12%. But we need them for things like our nerve structure, our spinal cord, our brain, cell membranes, for organ protection, and for cold protection. Women especially need fat, and we store it in the hips, thighs, and breasts primarily. That's where you'll see it when you gain it first. But it's very hard to lose fat. The easiest time for women is in the last trimester of pregnancy and during breastfeeding. Exercise won't necessarily cause weight loss. It can be in combination with sensible eating, but our appetite will increase with exercise. So you have to look at the whole 24 hours, not just what you're doing in your workouts. Weightlifting is good because it helps raise your basal metabolic rate. That means you'll actually lose more. Or burn more calories at rest. You've probably heard that lower intensity exercises causes greater fat burn. Well, that's not necessarily true. If you go for a long period of time, yes, but actually the higher the intensity, the better. More calories burned in the same time period, more calories burned in recovery, and it may actually increase your risk for injury. So you do have to be careful when you increase your intensity. If you go 60 to 90 minutes 4 to 5 times a week, you're more likely to see weight loss at lower intensities. 60 to 90 minutes is a bit unrealistic for your average client, however, 4 to 5 times a week. And when you are exercising for that long, that may also increase your risk for injury. Men do tend to lose fat easier with exercise because women are designed to store fat for childbearing. Can sit-ups burn belly fat? No. And please don't tell your clients to do a bunch of sit-ups in order to burn belly fat. There's no such thing as spot reduction. You can't work out one part of the body and expect fat to just burn in that one spot. Fat is burned throughout the body. You have to create a caloric deficit. That means over a 24-hour period you have to eat less calories than you would need in order to maintain your body weight. If you get injured, can your muscles turn into fat? Well, no, because muscle and fat are completely different types of tissue. Your muscles will atrophy, that means they will shrink, and fat will increase if calories are not restricted. In other words, if you eat more calories in a typical day, then you will find that you are going to gain some fat. Cellulite. What is it? Well, it's a made-up word for people that like to sell products so that you can spend lots of money and rub some creams on your skin, but really any lotion rubbed on your skin will probably help the appearance. It really is a made-up word. Basically what cellulite is, it's fat, and it's fat that has been growing for a while, so that connective tissues causes these bulging compartments to appear. The other problem is, as we get older, our skin loses elasticity and becomes thinner, so it's more apparent. So someone who is younger and has this extra fat, it's not so obvious. Unfortunately, the best way to lose it is, sorry about that message, I think it's gone for good now. The only way to lose it is to lose weight throughout the body. Don't exercise to lose weight either. Well, if we try to exercise to lose weight, we tend to see exercise as punishment, and that's definitely not something you want to start with your client. So remind your clients to exercise for health, fitness, stress relief, and enjoyment. They're more likely to quit if they associate exercise with pain and negative connotations. Choose exercise that has purpose and meaning. Exercise can maintain weight loss and improve health. 1,000 to 2,000 calories per week is ideal. So don't overdo it, don't torture yourself with exercise, and make sure you enjoy it. How about body image? Well, we come in all different shapes and sizes. So what you see in a magazine is not necessarily what would apply to you. It's genetically determined. You can lose fat and add muscle. So we can do somewhat of a makeover, but you can't do a complete makeover. You can't affect your height, obviously, because that's to do with your bone structure. But you can increase the size of your muscles. You can decrease the amount of body fat. But don't waste mental energy fretting over undesired body fat. It will come off if you are paying attention to diet and exercise. Your relationships in life are definitely more important. We don't base our friendships on appearance. We appreciate people for what's within. Body obsession is related to self-esteem. Beauty comes from within, and obsession can lead to eating disorders. And the other one is disordered eating. It may not be as serious, but we still focus too much on it. The other one is the body dysmorphic disorder. So that's trying to get the G.I. Joe or the Barbie look. If you're going to weigh yourself, don't weigh daily. It's the best advice you can give your clients. Weekly or monthly even might be better. We want to measure fat when we are concerned about weight, but when we get on a scale, we're measuring fat, lean tissue, that's your muscle, water, food, intestinal contents. So we don't really know if we're losing fat if we lose weight on a scale. So it's really irrelevant information. Don't depend on the scale for psychological rewards. You know, when you get on the scale and you see you're trying to lose weight and you've dropped a pound or two, and you smile to yourself and you think, okay, that's really good. But you don't know what the 1 to 2 pounds are. If it's just water weight, then really you haven't achieved anything. So best thing to do is to weigh only in the morning, weigh nude, and that way it's the same every time. You don't have to worry about what the clothes weigh. And after you've emptied your bladder and your bowels, because that would be similar to the previous morning too. So you can really tell when things are coming off. But don't obsess with the scale. There is a guideline for ideal body weight. It's just a guideline. And then we add we add or subtract plus or minus 10% to allow for frame size too. So for women, the formula is 100 pounds for your first 5 feet and 5 pounds for every inch over 5 feet. So someone that would be 5'5", you would take 100 pounds for their 5 feet, and then the 5 inches you multiply by 5. 5 5s are 25, so that's 125 pounds. And if you plus or minus the 10%, that's 12.5 subtracted on one side of 125 and 12.5 added on the other side of 125, and that gives you your range. So you do the same thing, but for men the formula is just a little bit different. It's 106 pounds for the first 5 feet and 6 pounds for every inch above 5 feet. Keep in mind that if guys are 6 feet tall, remember 1 foot is 12 inches. So measuring a guy that's 6 feet, it would be 106 pounds plus 6 times 12, which is 72, which would lead to 178 pounds as an ideal weight. Again, you'd be looking at 17.8 on either side for the range. You've probably heard of BMI or body mass index. A lot of doctors' offices use it, a lot of insurance companies use it. What is it? It's not a body fat percentage, it's actually kilograms per meter squared. So kilograms are weight, meter squared is height. You're looking at your weight divided by your height squared. So what do we know about weight? Well, when we weigh ourselves on a scale, we're weighing everything, not just fat. So we understand that if someone has more muscle mass, more bone, more bone density, things like that, it's going to skew that scale. But definitely someone who is of shorter stature and very muscle bound is probably going to come across as obese on this scale. It's not helpful for athletes, it really isn't. It's good for the general population. It's good for finding anorexia too. If you find someone is under 18.5 on the BMI, that may be an indicator, but obviously you'd have to look at the other signs, which we'll talk about later. The normal range for the BMI is 18.5 to 24.9, and anything greater than 30 is actually a risk factor for heart disease. It's obesity. How can you measure body fat then? Well, underwater weighing is probably one of the best ways to do it, but most people don't have an underwater tank to measure, and they are extremely expensive, so you'll see them at some of the top colleges around the nation. But it measures body density underwater. Air displacement, or the bod pod you probably heard about, is also a measurement of body volume. It's air that's displaced inside based on your body density or volume. And finally, the skinfold calipers, which we use a lot here on campus because it's affordable. It costs about $250 for the calipers, and depends on the technician, the caliper itself, which one you choose, and the conversion equations that you use, but it can be pretty accurate within plus or minus 3 to 4% of the actual body composition. It's good for measuring changes about once a month. I recommend every 1 to 3 months. Another one is a bioelectrical impedance, and you probably stood holding this piece of equipment in your hands. They have you hold it out, and they measure arm to arm, or they measure leg to leg if they put electrodes on your feet and you lie down. You can also stand on a scale. It'll measure leg to leg. Some of the Tanita scales and other ones on the market can help you measure body fat through BIA. The standard for error for the testing is about plus or minus 3%. So, you know, there's no 100% accurate way of measuring body fat unless we chop you up and put you in a blender and then go ahead and put you in a centrifuge so we can spin everything out, and then we can weigh that amount of fat and compare it to the rest of the body weight. Obviously that's not a technique you would do, so most of them are approximations, so don't get too caught up on body fat percentages. And that's the end of the slideshow. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.